Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Carl Jung. This video reached you because your inner signal is already awake. Have you ever felt your life shift in strange ways? Synchronicities, sudden urges, restless nights? That's no accident. The forbidden quantum key inside you has already activated, and tonight, your destiny bends in ways you cannot ignore. Stay, everything changes from here. When we talk about the forbidden quantum key, we're not speaking about a literal key you can hold in your hand, but a symbolic trigger hidden deep within your consciousness. Think of it as an unseen switch that, once activated, alters how you perceive reality. For most people, life feels linear and predictable. Wake up, go through the motions, repeat. But the moment this key turns, the structure cracks. Suddenly, you're aware that life isn't just happening to you. You realize it's also happening through you. That realization is powerful because it places you at the center of creation rather than at the mercy of circumstance. The reason it's called forbidden isn't because someone physically hid it from you, but because society, conditioning, and even fear have taught us to ignore it. From childhood, you may have been told not to question too much, not to trust your instincts, or not to believe in possibilities beyond logic. The key represents the very opposite: permission to step beyond the limitations imposed on you and embrace a reality that bends when your awareness sharpens. Imagine you're standing in front of two locked doors. One leads to the life you've always known, safe, familiar, but confining. The other door is unknown. It could lead to transformation, risks, or challenges, but also to freedom, expansion, and meaning. The forbidden quantum key is the tool that makes the second door visible and unlockable. Before its activation, you may not have even noticed there was another door at all. People often feel the key stirring when they experience moments of deep synchronicity, like thinking of someone right before they call, or stumbling onto an opportunity that feels designed for them. These aren't coincidences, they're signals that your awareness has begun to align with a deeper pattern. When the key activates, you stop dismissing these experiences as random, and instead, you see them as guiding markers. This shift in perception is what transforms your relationship with destiny. It's also worth noting that the key is not about gaining control over everything. Rather, it's about stepping into a partnership with the flow of life. You become attuned to subtle nudges, intuitive sparks, and inner clarity that guide you toward paths your rational mind might have overlooked. For example, someone might feel compelled to leave a draining job without knowing what comes next, only to discover the next step was waiting the moment they took the leap. That's the key at work, opening realities that were previously locked. In essence, the forbidden quantum key is a symbol of awakening. It means your reality is no longer governed solely by external expectations, but by an inner knowing that refuses to stay hidden. And once you recognize this truth, the biggest mistake you can make is to pretend it never happened. The key doesn't vanish, it waits for you to step forward with it. This is the beginning of owning your destiny instead of being a passive player in someone else's script. There's a reason this message found its way to you at this exact moment. Life rarely places us in front of the same doorway twice, and when it does, it's because you've reached a point where ignoring the call would cost you more than answering it. Seeing this now is not random, it's a reflection of timing, alignment, and readiness. The forbidden quantum key does not activate when you feel comfortable. It awakens when you're on the edge of change, when you've outgrown the old, but haven't yet fully stepped into the new. Think back to your recent experiences. Have you felt unusual waves of emotion, sudden clarity about relationships, or the sense that your old routines don't fit anymore? These are signals that your consciousness is moving into a new stage. The very act of stumbling onto this video means you're already resonating at the frequency where this information is relevant. In other words, you wouldn't be here if you weren't ready. Sometimes the universe nudges us softly, a passing comment, a dream, or an unexpected encounter. Other times, it places something directly in our path that feels almost too perfect to ignore. That's what this moment is, confirmation. You're not here by chance. You're here because your life story is shifting chapters, and the key is already in motion, waiting for you to notice it. Many people live their entire lives missing these moments because they dismiss them as coincidences. But coincidences are just patterns we haven't learned to recognize yet. Seeing this now is a sign that you're beginning to recognize those patterns. For example, you may have been reflecting on a big decision, whether to move, change careers, or let go of a draining relationship, and suddenly this message appears, echoing exactly what's been on your heart. That's synchronicity. That's proof that your awareness and the universe are speaking the same language. It's also worth mentioning that the key does not appear when you're unprepared. If you've encountered this message tonight, it's because you've already built the inner strength to handle what's next. Think of it like a hidden lock in a video game. It only shows up once you've gathered enough experience to face the challenge behind it. The key is similar. It surfaces only when you've reached the level of awareness required to use it. So why are you seeing this now? Because it's time to stop delaying, stop doubting, and stop waiting for the perfect conditions. The truth is, the moment is already perfect. The reason this video reached you is because your timeline has opened, your energy has shifted, and your destiny is ready to be rewritten. The universe doesn't make mistakes, it only makes invitations. The question is whether you'll accept yours tonight. The moment of activation is rarely loud or dramatic. It often slips in quietly, hidden inside ordinary experiences that suddenly feel extraordinary. You might not see flashing lights or hear divine trumpets announcing your destiny. Instead, you'll notice a subtle shift, like a veil lifting, that changes how you perceive the same life you've been living all along. This is the moment the forbidden quantum key turns inside you, aligning your consciousness with a new frequency. For some, activation comes through a sudden event that jolts them awake, an unexpected loss, a major life decision, or an encounter that stirs the soul in a way nothing else has. These moments feel like the ground has cracked open beneath you, demanding that you leave the old world behind. But activation doesn't always require chaos. It can also arrive in stillness, during meditation, while walking in nature, or even in a casual moment when your mind goes quiet and you know without knowing why that something inside you has changed. One clear marker of activation is the collapse of what used to hold power over you. Habits, fears, or patterns that once controlled your choices suddenly feel lighter, weaker, less convincing. For example, you may notice that the criticism that once cut deep now barely touches you, or the job that kept you trapped no longer defines your worth. This isn't because the external world shifted, but because your inner awareness has turned a key that rewired how you respond. Another sign is the arrival of heightened synchronicities. Before activation, coincidences might seem cute or curious. After activation, they become impossible to ignore. You might think of someone and receive their message minutes later. You may overhear a conversation that answers a question you hadn't even voiced. These experiences don't just happen more often, they carry a sense of weight, like they're meant for you. They confirm that your perception has tuned into a hidden current guiding you forward. What makes the moment of activation so powerful is that it cannot be reversed. Once you've seen the second door, you can't pretend it isn't there. Your soul has already tasted freedom, and no matter how much you try to shrink back into the old comfort zone, the key won't let you. That doesn't mean everything becomes easy overnight. In fact, the first moments after activation can feel disorienting because you're navigating with new eyes in a familiar world. Think of it like adjusting to sunlight after being in a dark room. At first, it's overwhelming, even uncomfortable, but soon you begin to see with clarity you never had before. The activation moment is your first glimpse of that light. From here on, the journey isn't about finding the key, it's about learning how to carry it, how to use it, and how to trust the new reality it has revealed. One of the clearest consequences of the forbidden quantum key's activation is the sudden collapse of your old loops, the repetitive patterns that kept you circling the same experiences again and again. These loops can take many forms: toxic relationships, draining jobs, recurring doubts, or even self-sabotaging habits you promised yourself you stop, but somehow always returned to. For years, it may have felt like you were stuck on an invisible treadmill, running, exhausting yourself, but never truly moving forward. The activation of the key is what finally throws a wrench into that machine. When the key turns, the cycle is exposed. You begin to see with startling clarity the repeating themes in your life. Maybe you always attract people who undervalue you, or perhaps you keep sabotaging opportunities at the last minute. Before, you might have blamed bad luck or assumed that's just the way things are. After activation, you can no longer ignore the pattern. You recognize that it isn't fate punishing you, but an unconscious loop asking to be broken. This breaking of loops doesn't happen gently. It can feel like relationships unraveling all at once, or like the job you thought you needed suddenly pushing you out. The discomfort is part of the process. The key doesn't allow you to keep repeating cycles that no longer serve your growth. It doesn't matter if you feel ready. What matters is that you're no longer aligned with the energy of stagnation. Think of it like watching the same movie over and over, only to realize one day that you already know the ending, and it no longer excites you. The key activates the awareness that there is another movie waiting for you, but to experience it, you must put down the old script. That's why loops collapse. They lose their power to hold your attention. Breaking loops also liberates your energy. So much of your strength is often consumed by maintaining the familiar, even when it's painful. Once the cycle shatters, all that energy is freed up, ready to be redirected into new possibilities. This is why, after leaving an old loop, many people suddenly feel lighter, more creative, or more open to opportunities they couldn't see before. Of course, the breaking of loops can be emotionally intense. You may feel grief for what's ending, confusion about what's next, or even fear that you've lost control. But here's the truth. The loops breaking are proof that you're no longer trapped. You are stepping into a new dimension of choice, where the old story no longer dictates your future. In essence, breaking old loops is not about destruction, it's about release. The forbidden quantum key doesn't erase your past, it frees you from repeating it. And in that freedom lies the first true taste of destiny unfolding in real time. When the forbidden quantum key activates, one of the most profound changes you experience is the shifting of timelines. A timeline is not just the sequence of years you live through, it's the trajectory shaped by your choices, beliefs, and energy. Most people walk a single, predictable timeline, repeating the same decisions, influenced by the same fears, and carrying the same limitations. But once the key turns, that linear path begins to fracture, revealing multiple possible futures you didn't know you could access. A timeline shift feels like déjà vu in reverse. Instead of reliving what you've already experienced, you sense that the future is bending, presenting different options you would never have considered before. For example, you may feel an urge to move to a new place, explore a new career, or cut ties with relationships that no longer align. At first, these impulses might seem irrational, but deep down, you recognize they are pulling you toward a version of yourself you haven't met yet. Think of your life as a river. Before activation, you're carried along by the current with little awareness of where it's taking you. After activation, the river suddenly splits into many streams. You can now see that one branch leads to stagnation, another to growth, another to healing, and another to risk. The key doesn't force you down a specific path, it simply reveals the branches that were hidden all along. The choice is still yours, but the awareness changes everything. One clear sign of a timeline shift is that events in your life begin to rearrange themselves quickly. Opportunities appear almost out of nowhere. People enter your life carrying messages or lessons, and circumstances that once seemed impossible begin unfolding with uncanny ease. These aren't coincidences, they're markers that you've stepped onto a new track of reality. Of course, shifts can also feel unsettling. When you choose a new timeline, the old one collapses. That might mean friendships fading, routines dissolving, or goals you once chased losing their meaning. It's easy to interpret these endings as loss, but in truth, they are proof of realignment. A new timeline cannot fully emerge if you cling to the old. The beauty of timeline shifts is that they remind you destiny is not fixed. At any moment, the future can bend in your favor if you're willing to align with it. The forbidden quantum key doesn't just activate change, it activates choice. It gives you the awareness to consciously step into the timeline where your growth, healing, and higher destiny can unfold. When you embrace a shift, you stop living the script that was handed to you and begin writing your own. And that's the real miracle of the key. It turns your life from something that happens to you into something that flows through you, with you as the conscious navigator. Awareness is the greatest gift the forbidden quantum key brings once it activates. Before awareness sharpens, life can feel like you're stumbling through a fog, reacting to situations, following routines, and assuming that this is just how things are. But when the key unlocks your perception, the fog lifts. Suddenly, you notice patterns you once overlooked, motives behind actions, and connections between events that reveal a bigger picture. Awareness turns ordinary moments into revelations. The power of awareness lies in its ability to transform your relationship with reality. For instance, imagine two people facing the same challenge. One sees only struggle, while the other recognizes it as a test that carries the seed of growth. The external event is identical, but awareness makes the difference in outcome. The first person feels trapped, the second sees a door. The quantum key is what sharpens your inner vision so that you too start seeing the doors that were always there. One of the most striking effects of heightened awareness is how it reshapes your interactions with people. You may begin to sense the true energy behind someone's words, noticing whether they uplift you or drain you. This doesn't mean you judge others harshly, it simply means you can no longer be fooled by appearances. A friend who subtly undermines you, a boss who thrives on control, or even your own negative self-talk becomes easier to recognize. And once you see it, you can no longer tolerate it in the same way. That awareness alone starts rewriting your reality. Awareness also amplifies your ability to notice synchronicities, the so-called coincidences that are anything but random. You may catch repeating numbers, overhear phrases that answer your unspoken questions, or find yourself accidentally in the right place at the right time. In the past, you might have brushed these off. Now you recognize them as signals, guiding you like breadcrumbs toward your highest timeline. The deeper gift of awareness is that it shifts your focus inward. Instead of constantly blaming external circumstances for your struggles, you begin to see how your beliefs, choices, and energy shape your experiences. This isn't about self-blame, it's about empowerment. When you realize that your thoughts and actions create ripples in your reality, you understand that you're not powerless, you're participating in the design of your life. And here's the most encouraging part. Awareness is a power that grows the more you use it. At first, it might feel overwhelming to notice so much, but soon it becomes second nature. You start moving with more intention, making decisions that reflect who you truly are rather than who you were conditioned to be. The forbidden quantum key doesn't give you awareness as a temporary gift, it unlocks it as a permanent tool. Once your eyes are open, you can't go back to sleepwalking through life. Awareness becomes the compass that guides you, ensuring that no matter what timeline you step into, you can navigate it with clarity, courage, and purpose. When the forbidden quantum key activates, your energy field, the subtle system that carries your emotions, vitality, and spiritual resonance, begins to shift. These changes don't just happen in your thoughts, they show up in your body, your emotions, and even in how you experience the world around you. Understanding these energetic symptoms helps you recognize that what you're feeling isn't random. It's proof that the key is alive within you. One of the first signs is an increase in physical sensations that seem to come out of nowhere. You may experience sudden chills, a rush of warmth through your chest, tingling in your hands, or a vibrating feeling at the top of your head. Many describe it as a current running through them, as if the body has become a conduit for something larger than itself. These sensations can feel strange, but they're often the result of your nervous system adjusting to a higher state of awareness. Dreams also become more vivid and symbolic. Instead of fragmented images, you may find yourself in stories that feel deeply significant, meeting mysterious guides, revisiting old memories, or encountering symbols like keys, doors, and light. These aren't just random dream sequences, they are messages from your subconscious, aligning you with the new reality you're stepping into. Emotionally, activation can bring sudden waves that seem disproportionate to the moment. You might cry unexpectedly, feel surges of joy, or experience bursts of frustration without a clear trigger. These emotions are old energies surfacing to be released. Think of it like clearing out the attic. The dust rises as you move things, but only because you're finally making space for something new. Another common symptom is heightened sensitivity. Lights may seem brighter, sounds sharper, and the emotions of others more noticeable. While this can feel overwhelming at first, it's actually a gift. It shows that your perception is widening, that you're tuning into layers of reality that were previously invisible. This sensitivity also applies to intuition. You may start knowing things without evidence, sensing outcomes before they happen, or feeling drawn towards certain people or places with no logical explanation. On a deeper level, you may notice a shift in your energy rhythms. Sleep patterns change. You might wake up at unusual hours, often around 3:00 a.m., a time associated with spiritual awakening. You may also feel bursts of energy that push you into action, followed by periods of deep rest as your system recalibrates. These cycles are natural. They're part of the body integrating the key's activation. The important thing to remember is that these symptoms are not random inconveniences, they are confirmations. They show you that your mind, body, and spirit are synchronizing with a new frequency. Instead of resisting them, allow yourself to experience them fully. Journal your dreams, breathe through the sensations, and trust your intuition when it nudges you. These energetic symptoms are not signs that something is wrong. They're proof that something extraordinary has begun, and that your entire being is preparing for the destiny shift unfolding before you. When the forbidden quantum key activates, it's not a casual event. It's a signal that your soul is ready to move into a higher chapter of existence. But here's the catch: you still have free will. You can choose to notice the key and align with it, or you can pretend it doesn't exist and carry on as if nothing has changed. Ignoring it may feel safer in the short term, but it comes with real dangers, because once the key is activated, your old life can no longer hold you the same way. The first danger is stagnation. Imagine a plant that has outgrown its pot. If it's not transplanted, its roots begin to coil in circles, suffocating themselves. Similarly, when you resist the key, you stay in loops that no longer nourish you. The job feels heavier, the relationship feels emptier, and the daily routines that once seemed fine suddenly feel suffocating. It's not punishment, it's pressure urging you to expand. Another danger is inner conflict. Once you've glimpsed the new door, pretending it isn't there creates tension within you. Your soul whispers, "This isn't enough," but your mind clings to familiarity. This tug-of-war drains your energy, leaving you exhausted and restless. Many people mistake this restlessness for depression or anxiety, when in truth, it's the cost of resisting growth. There's also the risk of missed opportunities. When the key activates, doors open, sometimes in subtle ways, sometimes in dramatic ones. If you ignore the nudges, those doors close, not because you're being punished, but because opportunities are alive. They require movement. Imagine being offered a once-in-a-lifetime journey but refusing to pack your bags. Eventually, the ship sails without you, and regret becomes the heaviest weight you carry. Relationships can also fracture in unhealthy ways when the key is ignored. People meant to leave your timeline may grow more toxic, pushing harder against your boundaries. Conflicts intensify, not because the universe is cruel, but because the key is highlighting what no longer fits. Ignoring these signs can keep you trapped in draining dynamics that erode your spirit. The greatest danger, though, is disconnection from yourself. Ignoring the key numbs your intuition. You stop trusting your instincts, second-guess your inner voice, and drown out the very signals guiding you toward transformation. Over time, this leads to a hollow kind of living, where you survive each day but feel increasingly disconnected from meaning or joy. The truth is, ignoring the key doesn't stop its activation. It just delays your alignment with it. The universe will keep nudging, sometimes gently, sometimes with storms, until you acknowledge what you've already been given. The dangers of ignoring it are not punishments, but natural consequences of trying to stay small when your soul has already chosen to grow. In the end, the key is both an invitation and a responsibility. Accepting it may feel uncertain, but resisting it guarantees discomfort. The choice isn't between risk and safety, it's between evolution and stagnation. And only one of those paths leads you toward the destiny waiting for you tonight. When the forbidden quantum key activates, one of its greatest gifts is the unveiling of hidden opportunities, possibilities that were always there but invisible until now. It's like walking into a familiar room and suddenly noticing doors you had never seen before. Nothing in the physical room changed, but your perception did. That's the shift the key brings, the ability to recognize what has been quietly waiting for you all along. These opportunities don't always look dramatic at first. They may come as a passing conversation, an unexpected invitation, or a small idea that refuses to leave your mind. For example, someone might casually suggest a book that ends up changing your entire perspective, or you may stumble into a hobby that opens the door to a new career. Before activation, you might have ignored these nudges as insignificant. After activation, you start to sense their weight, like threads leading you toward a greater tapestry. One of the clearest ways hidden opportunities reveal themselves is through alignment. You'll notice that certain paths flow with ease, while others become blocked or frustrating. Instead of fighting for doors that won't open, you're guided toward the ones that swing wide when you approach. This is not coincidence. It's a sign that your timeline is rearranging itself to bring you closer to your destiny. Opportunities also appear in relationships. The key has a way of drawing the right people into your orbit: mentors, allies, or even strangers who deliver messages at the exact time you need them. These connections often feel fated, like meeting someone for the first time but sensing you've known them forever. Such encounters are not accidents, they're markers of a reality where your growth is supported. Another important aspect of hidden opportunities is that they often disguise themselves as challenges. A job loss, a breakup, or an abrupt ending might feel painful in the moment, but these experiences often clear the path for something greater. The key shifts your perspective so you can see that endings are not just losses, they are openings. They release the weight that blocked your ability to step into new possibilities. It's also worth noting that opportunities require recognition and action. Seeing the new door is one thing, walking through it is another. Many people notice the signs but hesitate, fearing the unknown. But when the key is active, hesitation carries its own cost. You risk watching the door close again. The courage to step forward, even when uncertain, is what transforms a hidden possibility into a tangible change. Ultimately, the activation of the forbidden quantum key turns your life into a field of open doors. What once looked like coincidence now feels like orchestration. What once felt out of reach now feels accessible. And the more you trust these opportunities, the more they multiply. Each step through a hidden door reveals another, leading you deeper into the destiny that's been waiting for you all along. When the forbidden quantum key activates, it doesn't just transform your inner world, it reshapes your relationships too. This can be one of the most surprising and challenging aspects of activation, because the people in your life often mirror the stage of growth you're in. When your frequency shifts, the dynamics around you inevitably shift with it. Some connections deepen in beautiful, unexpected ways, while others begin to dissolve. The first thing you may notice is a new sensitivity to energy. People you once tolerated easily might suddenly feel draining or heavy. Conversations that used to entertain you might now seem empty or even toxic. This isn't because those people changed overnight, it's because you did. Your awareness is sharper, and your soul can no longer pretend to be comfortable where it doesn't belong. At the same time, supportive relationships become even more valuable. You may find yourself gravitating toward people who inspire growth, honesty, and expansion. These connections feel lighter, more aligned, and nourishing to your spirit. Sometimes they arrive as new friendships, mentors, or even strangers who instantly feel familiar. In these cases, the key acts like a magnet, pulling you toward those who are meant to accompany you on your next chapter. But here's the hard truth: activation often brings endings. Relationships built on fear, control, or stagnation can't survive in the new energy. You might notice distance forming with old friends or conflicts intensifying in long-standing relationships. It's not about blame, it's about resonance. If someone is not willing to grow alongside you, the bond naturally weakens. This can feel painful, but it's also liberating because it clears the space for more aligned connections. Romantic relationships can be especially impacted. If both partners are willing to embrace growth, the key can deepen intimacy and trust, creating a bond that feels more purposeful than ever. But if one partner resists, the gap widens. The key doesn't punish relationships, it simply exposes whether they're built on truth or illusion. Family dynamics may also shift. You might feel called to set boundaries where none existed before, or to release patterns of people-pleasing and obligation. At first, this can create friction, especially if family members are accustomed to the old you. But over time, these boundaries honor your authenticity, and in some cases, they even inspire others to begin their own transformations. The most important thing to remember is that relationships reflect your vibration. When you elevate, the people who match your new frequency remain, while those who don't begin to fade. This isn't rejection, it's redirection. The key ensures that your circle evolves to support your destiny, not suppress it. So, as difficult as it may feel, trust the process. Every person who leaves makes room for someone who truly belongs, and every connection that strengthens becomes part of the support system, getting you through the new door your key has opened. The activation of the forbidden quantum key is not the end of the journey. It's the beginning of a series of spiritual tests designed to strengthen your awareness and commitment. These tests aren't punishments, they're confirmations, opportunities for you to prove to yourself that you're ready to embody the new level of consciousness you've stepped into. Think of them as checkpoints on your path, ensuring you don't just glimpse the door, but also walk through it with courage. One of the most common tests involves temptation to return to the old. You may find old habits or relationships resurfacing, offering comfort or familiarity. An ex might reach out just as you're learning to value your independence, or a job opportunity might appear that promises security but requires you to abandon your growth. These aren't coincidences, they're deliberate challenges. The universe is asking, do you really want this new path, or will you fall back into the loop you've just broken? Another type of test appears as obstacles. Right after the key activates, you might encounter setbacks that seem to contradict your progress, delays, rejections, or sudden difficulties. Many people mistake these for signs that they're on the wrong path. In reality, they're tests of perseverance. The question isn't whether you can avoid struggle, it's whether you'll trust the process even when it's not easy. Passing this test solidifies your alignment with your new timeline. Tests also come through relationships. You may be confronted with people who question your choices, criticize your growth, or attempt to pull you back into old dynamics. These interactions can stir doubt, but they're opportunities to practice boundaries, authenticity, and trust in your inner voice. The key empowers you to respond differently than you would have in the past, proving to yourself that you've truly shifted. Perhaps the most subtle test is internal, facing your own fears and insecurities. When you activate the key, you shine light into corners of yourself you may have avoided. Doubts about worth, fears of failure, or wounds from the past can resurface, not to break you, but to be healed. The test here is whether you'll run from these shadows or integrate them as part of your transformation. It's important to remember that passing spiritual tests doesn't require perfection. It requires awareness and choice. Even if you stumble, what matters is that you recognize the lesson and keep moving forward. Tests are not about proving yourself to anyone else. They're about building your own trust in your strength and clarity. In the end, these challenges aren't roadblocks, they're stepping stones. Each one you face confirms that you're no longer sleepwalking through life. You're awake, aware, and willing to walk the path your key has unlocked. And every test you pass becomes proof, not just to the universe, but to yourself, that you're ready to live in alignment with your higher destiny. The forbidden quantum key doesn't just activate once and remain static. It's like a living frequency inside you that grows stronger the more you align with it. Think of it like a muscle. Activation is the spark, but strengthening it requires intentional practice, awareness, and consistency. By nurturing it, you ensure the key doesn't just flicker like a temporary light, but burns brightly enough to guide your entire path forward. One of the most effective ways to strengthen the key is through presence. When you anchor yourself in the present moment, whether through meditation, mindful breathing, or simply paying attention to your daily experiences, you give the key more room to work. Presence clears the static of worry about the past or anxiety about the future, allowing you to notice the synchronicities, intuitive nudges, and inner clarity that fuel your growth. Another method is aligning your environment. The key thrives in spaces that reflect your elevated energy. This might mean decluttering your home, surrounding yourself with uplifting music or art, or spending time in nature. These environments act like tuning forks, amplifying your resonance and keeping your frequency aligned with the transformation unfolding inside you. Strengthening the key also requires honoring your intuition. The key communicates through subtle signals, gut feelings, dreams, and inner whispers. When you dismiss these, the signal weakens. When you act on them, the signal strengthens. For example, if you feel drawn to contact someone, explore a new path, or step away from a draining habit, following through confirms your trust in the key. Each small act of obedience to your intuition is like oil feeding the flame. Relationships play a role too. Surround yourself with people who encourage growth, honesty, and authenticity. The wrong influences can cloud the key's guidance, while the right ones sharpen it. You don't need to cut everyone out of your life, but you do need to discern who supports your expansion and who resists it. By choosing your connections wisely, you create an energetic field where the key can flourish. Physical care is another overlooked factor. The key is spiritual, but it works through your body. Eating nourishing food, resting well, and moving your body keep your vessels strong enough to carry the higher energy you've unlocked. Even practices like journaling, breathwork, or quiet reflection can act as daily rituals that stabilize and magnify the key's power. Finally, gratitude is a force multiplier. The more you appreciate the small shifts, the clearer and more abundant the larger ones become. Gratitude sharpens your perception, reminding you that the key isn't just about unlocking extraordinary future moments. It's about recognizing the sacred in the ordinary here and now. In short, strengthening the key is about alignment. Every conscious choice, whether in thought, action, or energy, either feeds the key or dims it. When you choose presence, intuition, supportive environments, and gratitude, you're not just holding the key, you're wielding it. And that is how destiny reshapes itself around you. There are moments in life that act as quiet turning points, thresholds where the choices you make ripple outward to reshape the path ahead. When the forbidden quantum key activates, tonight becomes one of those moments. It's not just another day passing on the calendar, it's the intersection of your awareness, your energy, and the opportunities placed before you. This convergence creates a shift, and how you respond to it determines the trajectory of your destiny. Why tonight? Because activation always aligns with readiness. The key doesn't awaken when you're unprepared, it awakens when you've reached a point where staying the same costs more than evolving. The fact that you're here, receiving this message, is proof that this night carries significance. It's the moment where the veil is thinner, where your choices echo louder, and where even small acts of awareness can redirect your future in ways you'll only understand later. Destiny shift tonight may not look dramatic from the outside. You might not move to a new city or quit your job in a single evening. But internally, the shift begins with intention. It might be the night you decide, I will no longer settle for less than I deserve. Or the night you choose to release an old pain, set a new boundary, or finally commit to a vision that's been waiting in your heart. These decisions act like keys within the key, unlocking the doors that align you with your higher timeline. Think of it like adjusting the tracks of a train. A tiny movement of the switch tonight can send the train of your life to a completely different destination weeks, months, or years from now. That's why this moment matters. It's not about doing something grand, it's about making a conscious choice, however small, that says, I accept the shift. I'm ready to walk into the future that's calling me. Signs of tonight's shift may already be showing themselves. You might feel restless, unable to sleep, or more sensitive to your surroundings. You may notice synchronicities happening faster or an unusual calm even amidst uncertainty. These are confirmations that the energy is active. The key is humming in the background, inviting you to recognize its presence. The beauty of tonight's shift is that it doesn't require perfection, it requires openness. All you need to do is acknowledge the invitation, whisper your intentions, write them down, or meditate on what you're ready to release and embrace. By doing so, you're not just watching destiny unfold, you're participating in shaping it. So remember, tonight is not ordinary, it's a doorway, and the fact that you're aware of it means you're already standing at the threshold. Step through with trust. This is the night your future bends towards something greater, something freer, and something undeniably aligned with the destiny your soul has been waiting to claim. The activation of the forbidden quantum key is powerful, but the final step is the most important one, claiming your transformation. Activation without ownership is like being handed the keys to a door yet never opening it. Transformation doesn't become real until you embody it, until you decide that this new frequency, this new awareness, belongs to you and you're ready to live it daily. Claiming your transformation begins with choice. Not a passive hope, not a vague wish, but a clear declaration. I am no longer the person I was yesterday. This doesn't mean you need to be flawless or have every detail figured out. It simply means you consciously align with the version of yourself who steps into the new timeline instead of clinging to the old. Even saying it aloud, journaling it, or setting an intention before bed tonight is an act of claiming. Words carry power, and your declaration signals to your mind, body, and spirit that the shift is real. Another part of claiming transformation is integration. The key doesn't exist just for moments of meditation or inspiration. It's meant to reshape how you live. That means making choices in your everyday life that honor the new awareness you've gained. If you've recognized that certain relationships drain you, claiming your transformation means setting boundaries. If you've realized your purpose lies beyond your current job, it means taking the first small step towards something more aligned. Transformation isn't proven in theory, it's proven in action. Claiming also requires trust. The path ahead may not be fully clear, and that's okay. The key doesn't give you the entire map, it gives you the next step. Trust means walking forward even when you can't see the whole picture, believing that each step will reveal the next. Think of it like driving at night. Your headlights don't illuminate the entire road, but they give you enough to move forward safely. Claiming transformation means accepting that limited view and moving anyway. Another element is gratitude. Transformation feels more solid when you acknowledge how far you've already come. Instead of focusing on what you lack, recognize the signs that the shift is already working, synchronicities, inner peace, or simply the fact that you're here, aware, and open. Gratitude locks in the frequency, ensuring you continue to attract experiences that reflect your higher timeline. Finally, claiming your transformation means embodying it with confidence, not waiting for permission, not shrinking back when others doubt you, but living as if the new reality is already true, because in many ways it already is. This doesn't mean arrogance, it means quiet certainty. You no longer try to change, you are the chain. So the journey that began with the forbidden quantum keys activation comes full circle here. Claiming your transformation is the moment you stop asking, "Is this real?" and start saying, "This is who I am now." And once you claim it, your destiny doesn't just shift tonight, it continues to unfold in every choice, every step, and every breath from this moment forward.